Hey everybody, it's Dustin Weininger. I've been out playing Wild West again, shooting black powder cartridges through the 1873 single action revolver made by Pieta, and today I'm going to show you how to clean black powder guns after you've used them. It's a little more labor intensive and messy than cleaning modern smokeless powder firearms, but not as hard as people think. Let me start by showing you the products you're going to need. You'll need cleaning patches in the caliber of your gun, a brush, cleaning rod, Q-tips, a cleaning jag, a bore brush, ballistol, and a solvent commonly known as moose milk. I don't know where that name came from, but it is a combination of ballistol and water. The recommended solution or mixture is 10 parts water to 1 part ballistol. On this, I actually use 5 parts water to 1 part ballistol just to make sure I've got lots of ballistol in there preventing rust in my firearm. But water is the best solution I've ever found for black powder cleaning, and I've tried a lot of them on muzzle-loading rifles and handguns. But water and just a little ballistol to prevent rust goes a long way. Again, they call that the moose milk. Even though this is a cartridge revolver, you could apply the principles and the tips in this video to a cap and ball revolver and even to long guns like muzzle-loading hunting rifles. Even though the parts will be a little bit different and the procedures a little different, products are about the same. And the overall process is about the same of removing the fouling and getting your gun clean. Just like I did in my semi-automatic cleaning video, for your convenience, I'm going to switch now on the camera and give you an over-the-shoulder view so it's easy to follow along. Let's get started.
Just like when cleaning any firearm, the first step is to make sure it's unloaded and safe to be working on. So, for this single action revolver, I'll swing open the loading gate, pull the hammer back 2 clicks to half cock, which will free the cylinder. Now I can show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 empty chambers. That's all of them. The gun is unloaded and safe to be worked on. So I'll take it apart, first by removing the base pin screw, then the base pin itself. Set those aside. Cylinder will fall right out. Now, the first thing I'm going to do for cleaning is soak down this frame with the moose milk. And remember, that's just ballistol and water, as I mentioned before, all over the frame, even down inside the barrel. Get it from both directions even. All right, now while that soaks and starts to break down the black powder fouling, I'm going to take my cylinder over to a sink and start cleaning this just with warm running water. And that's controversial to some people, but if it's done correctly, you don't need to worry about rusting your gun. So let's head over to the sink and clean this while the frame and barrel are soaking. Now with warm running water and a bore brush in the caliber, which is 45 in this case, I'm just going to take my cylinder, put it under the water. Probably hard to see on camera, but you immediately get a lot of that black fouling just falling right out of there. As it's running, I'll just use my fingers to wipe the fouling off the outside. Comes right off. And around the bottom, the top, just wiping it away. And then for the chambers, take the brush, get it wet with water, and just run it through about 3 or 4 times through each of those chambers. And the cylinder really is as simple as that. Just continue this process until you've done them all. Now that a lot of the black powder fouling has been removed from the cylinder just by rinsing with warm water, next thing I'm going to do is give it a little more of a thorough cleaning with some moose milk and some patches. So I'm going to remove that brush now from my rod and replace it with a bore jag in 45 caliber. Then I'll just take a cleaning patch. I'm going to soak it with the moose milk, place it over the cylinder on top of the first chamber, and just run it through almost all the way with the jag. And you see there's some foulings, even a little surface rust, which is normal after black powder. Black powder fouling is corrosive. And I'm just going to run it through each and every chamber, picking up that dirt, in this case even a little bit of surface rust, which again, don't panic if you see that. It is normal. Then I'll take a dry patch I'll even take 2 just to squeeze a little tighter through the chambers. I have to give it a little bit of a pop to get it started. Push that almost all the way through, and just repeat that on every chamber. And this can take repetition. You have to repeat that part of the process a few times. But you'll just repeat with moose milk and then dry, moose milk, dry, and so forth until you're getting clean patches. Now for your sake, and the sake of time, I'm just going to go finish that off camera and skip ahead, and we'll pick you up at the next step. All right, after about 3 or 4 repetitions of that process, patches are looking pretty good. Next thing I'm going to do is take a toothbrush, put a little bit of moose milk on that, and up here at the back of the cylinder I just want to scrub all those little corners, nooks and crannies, making sure I neutralize any fouling that may be trapped up there. And then take a Q-tip with a little bit of the moose milk and run that down through the center base pin hole. That'll pick up the fouling that got down inside of there. There's usually not much down there, but if there is, we want it neutralized so we don't end up with any more rust. Pull that out. See, it didn't get too dirty. Now I'll just put the other end of the Q-tip and dry it. And then one more dry patch, wipe off the top, bottom, and I'm just going to push that once more to pick up the moose milk that the toothbrush may have left behind. So I'll just push that one more time through each of the chambers. Then the cylinder, we're going to call it clean. So I'll set that aside for now. Now back to this frame. It's been soaking the whole time in that moose milk, breaking down black powder fouling. I'm going to take the toothbrush, and right up in here, if you can see on camera, there is really a lot of fouling up here in the frame around the barrel. Not as much at the back, but some. So let's take that toothbrush, give it a little more, and just start on the corners, just brushing them all out. All that fouling has got to be neutralized and removed, again, to avoid any corrosion. So just brush all the corners. And not only the corners, also the surfaces as well. See how much fouling is coming off of there. You can also take toothpicks, add a little more moose milk, and make sure you get down into all the holes. That's where the base pin comes through. Make sure all those are done. There's where the ejector will come out. Back here, got where the base pin ends up. Down in that hole as well. Don't forget, down under the hammer, all the little corners and crevices. You can use that brush, that Q-tip, rags, wipe fouling away from the barrel, the frame, all over, adding more moose milk as needed as you go, just until you've removed all that fouling. So, again, for the sake of time, I'll finish off camera and see you back here in just a moment. Now that everything on the frame, the barrel, even the grip, the hammer, trigger, it's all looking pretty good. So the next thing to clean is inside of the bore. I've already got some moose milk soaking in there. I'm actually going to add just a little bit more down inside, both directions. And then switch from my jag on the rod back to the brush. And this being a revolver, I'm going to have to start from the muzzle, so be very careful as you're doing that not to scratch the muzzle. If you're scratching up the muzzle, you can affect accuracy of your gun. So I'll take the brush, start it into the muzzle, and you're going to push it all the way down in and back, repeated 25 times. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. That seems to be the magic number that always does a good job of really breaking up the fouling that's in there. Then take the brush off, put the jag back on, and I'll take a patch, soak it with moose milk, and place this right over the muzzle. Start it in with the jag, and I'll push it all the way down and just pop it out the other end, and you'll see that is really filthy. Lots of black powder fouling builds up inside the bore. Well, we broke it up with a brush. Now it's just pretty much a process of, or a matter I should say, of repeating. I'll do one more patch with moose milk. Already a little better. I'll just recycle that patch, putting the cleaner side out, dirty side in. Already lots of improvement. So now I'll take dry patches, if I can manage to separate them. All right, looking pretty good actually. I'll recycle that one. And you just repeat this, just pushing those dry patches through until you have a clean bore. And for the sake of time, we'll speed up again and catch you when the bore is clean. All right, I think one more patch ought to do it. Yeah, that is looking good. That is definitely a clean bore. So I'll just pull this frame aside for a moment now. Next thing I'm going to do is clean my base pin and my base pin screw. And for that, just squirt each one down with the moose milk. Gets down in the threads of the screw, gets any fouling. You don't get a lot of fouling down in there, but just to be sure, I like to get it cleaned up. For the screw, take the toothbrush, brush out the threads of it. Also up under the screw head and in the little slot where a screwdriver would go. Brush that all off. On this, I'll just take a rag, wipe down the pin, and you can see there's not a lot coming off there. They don't get very dirty. You can use your fingernail through the rag to get into the little grooves. Twist the pin, get those cleaned out well. And I'll just set that aside now. Now, what I want to do before I go into the oiling of the gun, I want to show you what we've done to the bore. Very hard to see on the camera. So on the screen, I'm going to put up a before and after picture and let you see what a bore looks like after black powder shooting, and then what it looks like after it's cleaned. Well, now the last thing to do is oil the gun, and for that we're going to use the Ballistol, not the moose milk this time, just straight Ballistol with no water in it. Let's go ahead and get that opened up, and I'll start over here with the cylinder. Take a patch, and I'm just going to soak it in the Ballistol like that. Wipe down the outside, and you'll notice there is quite a bit of Ballistol on there, but I will wipe away any excess when I'm finished in a moment. Get my fingernail to wipe in all the little grooves here. There's still a little dirt in there, but not enough I'm going to worry about it. All the bottom of the cylinder, all the top. Pressing down, getting in all the little grooves that I cleaned out earlier with that toothbrush. If any water got left behind, again, the big concern is rusting a gun if you leave water in it, but this Ballistol, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, emulsifies in water. So if there is any water hanging around anywhere that we don't see, this will mix with it, and when the water eventually evaporates, the Ballistol is left behind, protects the gun. Now I'll take one more patch, get that good and wet, and I'm going to take my jag, get a little of this Ballistol off my fingers first. I'll press this patch through the chambers, all the way up through. Just leaving a nice good coating down in there for rust protection as the gun goes into storage for a while. It looks like they're all pretty good. Just a little more in there. And another thing I like to do is turn it around. I've been doing everything from the breech end of the cylinder, so just push a little Ballistol from the front too and make sure all the corners have received it. Alright. Set that aside for a moment with lots of Ballistol almost dripping off of it. Then take another patch with the Ballistol. I'll get a little more. And this one is going to go over the muzzle and with the patch right down the barrel. Do it a little slow, make sure you get it in there really well. And I won't quite pop it out the breech end so that I can pull it back up, making sure I push Ballistol into all the pores of that metal from both directions. So I'm going to take a peek at that. Looks like we've got a nice coating in there. Then from there, the last thing to do is take a patch and you'll soak it with Ballistol again. We'll also want a Q-tip with some Ballistol on it like that, because now what I'm going to do is just take this Ballistol and just go over the barrel, the sights, the frame, the hammer. I'm going to push down into the corners with the Q-tip, into all the holes, every little nook and cranny. Pull the loading gate open, get all the angles, even down around the trigger, just every metal surface. Let's not even forget down the back strap, all the way around. It's okay, by the way, if you get this on the wood. Ballistol is actually a good wood preservative, won't hurt it, it'll just protect it. We're going to go all over the gun. The ejector housing, and then after I do that, I'll take another patch and just wipe away any excess. But as you can imagine, this can take just a little bit of time, so once again, I'll just speed up and skip ahead until I've got everything wiped down and the excess just lightly wiped away. Okay, now with the gun all cleaned, coated with Ballistol, we're ready to put it back together. To do that, get on the single action revolver, open the loading gate, hammer comes back to half cock. The cylinder will just drop right into place from the right side of the gun, like that. Base pin will go right into the base pin hole right there, making sure that the two notches on it are facing toward the bottom of the gun. As that drops into place, the base pin screw goes in to hold the pin where it needs to be. Then close the gate, bring the hammer back, lower it down. One final thing I would like to do with a dry shop rag is just give one more light wipe down of the whole gun for any excess Ballistol that's still gathered on there that we don't need. Just need to leave a thin coating for protection. And now it is a gun again. That really is all there is to black powder cleaning. A lot of people are afraid to shoot black powder because the horror stories they hear about the cleaning it, but it's really not bad and so much fun to shoot with that gun smoke that it provides. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video.
One important thing I should mention before I end the video is that black powder guns do need to be cleaned very soon after they've been used. The fouling created by black powder is corrosive to metal, so unlike modern firearms you can leave for some time, these should be cleaned hopefully the same day after you've used them to prevent any of that corrosion from taking place and getting pitting and bad rust and things like that. So do make sure that you get the process started and don't shoot your black powder guns unless you are prepared. to do that afterwards. I really hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to click the thumbs up button below and subscribe to the channel for more videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.